was once a king who ruled an empire with a nod of his head. A man who made even the Pope tremble. A man who could order a queen's execution over a whisper of doubt. And yet, in the final years of his life, he feared. A silver spoon, a warm bowl of soup, a glass of shimmering wine. Henry VIII, once the most powerful man in England, spent his last days haunted by a single, invisible enemy: poison. He demanded that servants taste every bite before him. Every knife, every goblet, every fork was inspected. Even a single drop of wine could be death in disguise, because for him, death might be hiding in the finest dish. But Henry's fear didn't come from nowhere. It came from a long, bloody history, where poison was the quietest blade in a royal court. In the palaces of Europe, whispers killed faster than swords, and poison became the weapon of choice for queens, cardinals, and kings who couldn't risk a war. It didn't scream, it didn't bleed, it only needed one drop in a goblet of wine or the final bite of roasted duck. Sometimes it killed slowly, sometimes by morning. In Italy, they called it the Queen's Kiss. In France, the silent knife. And in England, it was simply fear. Henry VIII was once the embodiment of power, the golden prince of Europe, tall, radiant, admired. But the man who once inspired awe began to rot from the inside out. A jousting accident crushed his leg. The wound never healed. It festered, infected. The stench preceded his presence. No one dared mention it, but they smelled it 3 rooms away. As the body decayed, so did the mind. The charming prince gave way to a paranoid tyrant. He began to lash out. Rage without warning, executions without trial. Even old friends became suspected traitors. But the poison he feared most wasn't in his food. It was in his thoughts. Suspicion, doubt, fear. So thick, it drowned out reason, and the throne that once lifted him above all others became a prison of his own creation. Henry didn't trust the food on his table, or the servants or even the sylve, so he built a system. A strange, elaborate system. Built up. Every dish was inspected. Before a single bite touched some of the royal food tasters. To pause d'habitude, and then, wait. If nothing happened, the king would begin his meal. But if the taster fell ill, or coughed, or trembled, even just slightly, the entire meal was thrown away. Henry watched them eat first, every single time, and still, he wasn't satisfied some nights. He refused to eat at all, even after every night, because what he feared wasn't just poison, it was the idea that someone wanted. But Henry's fear didn't end with food. It spread quietly into the halls, into the throne room, into every corner of power. No one was safe, not advisors, not friends, not even family. They came at night. No warning, no explanation, just footsteps and a door forced open. Henry signed their deaths with the same hand that once raised a toast with them. One by one, they were taken to the tower. The walk was silent, their fate already sealed. The food taster survived, but the trusted did not. His body was breaking, his legs swollen, his skin cracked, and the wound on his thigh never closed, and the pain never left. He couldn't stand without help. He couldn't sleep. He barely ate. And when the pain became too much, he screamed, loud, angry, curses thrown at everyone near him. Then silence, like nothing had happened. And sometimes he would just sit for hours, unmoving, staring at nothing, as if waiting for something only he could see. The king was still there, but the man was gone. Winter came, and Henry barely moved. Fevers returned, his breath grew shallow. The room was heavy with silence, but no one dared say he was dying, because in England, to predict the king's death was treason. So they lied. He will recover. He only needs rest. He's still the king. But his skin was cold. His eyes no longer focused. His crown sat untouched. And still, no one said the word. When the archbishop came, Henry said nothing, just held his hand. One final squeeze, then stillness. Death did not free him. His body was too large, too decayed. The embalmers struggled. The stench was overwhelming. A special coffin had to be built. Wider, deeper. Still, it could not contain him. In the dark chapel of Sion Abbey, the unthinkable happened. Cadaveric fluids leaked onto the floor into the night, and stray dogs found it. They licked what leaked from the king. Cadaveric fluids leaked onto the floor into the night, and stray dogs found it. They licked what leaked from the king. He broke from Rome, split a nation, all for a son. And when he got him, Edward, the boy died before he turned 16. A kingdom shaken, a legacy unfinished. Was it worth it? Then came Mary, daughter of the wife he discarded. She burned Protestants in the name of her faith, in the name of her father's broken church. But it wasn't fire that saved England. It was light. Elizabeth, the daughter of the woman he condemned, the child he tried to erase. She became the monarch that made England shine. Think about that. The daughter of the condemned became the queen of an empire. The man who sacrificed everything for a male heir was saved by a girl. Fate, it seems, has a sense of irony. Power is a curious thing. It lifts a man to the heavens and then leaves him there, stranded, forgotten, bleeding behind the gold. Henry VIII was not the first king to fall. He will not be the last. But few rulers in history have seen their downfall unfold as slowly and as grotesquely as he did. This story began with a boy crowned too young, praised too much, and told too often that he was chosen by God. And like many who are handed too much, he mistook fear for respect, silence for loyalty, and cruelty for strength. We followed him through glory, through war, through broken vows and shattered queens. But here, in his final chapter, stripped of all ceremony, we see him not as a king, but as a man dying, and completely alone. You may ask, how does a man who had everything end up like this? Bloated, rotting, his flesh splitting open, his legacy questioned, his loved ones executed, his body leaking through his own coffin? But maybe the better question is, why did no one stop him? The answer is as chilling as the man himself. No one could. He was surrounded by sycophants. People who smiled while burying the truth. Physicians who told him he was healing while his wounds festered down to the bone. Advisors who praised his wisdom, even as paranoia hollowed out his mind. And those who spoke up, they disappeared. Would you have spoken up? Would you have risked your life to tell a king that he was dying, that his mind was slipping, that his actions were no longer just? Would you have whispered the truth when everyone else was screaming lies? We like to believe we'd be brave. We'd be the one to stand. But history shows us something darker. Most don't. And that's what makes Henry's death more than a personal tragedy. It's a warning, a mirror. It shows us what happens when power becomes so absolute that it becomes immune to truth. Think about it. What does it say about a world where predicting the king's death was considered treason? Where telling a man that he's dying could cost you your head? Where the walls of the palace were so thick with perfume that no one dared notice the smell of decay? This isn't just a story about a dead king. It's about us, about how societies break, not with explosions, but with whispers, with the quiet death of honesty. Henry's legacy is complicated. He reshaped England, split from Rome, changed the course of faith and crown. But in his final days, none of that mattered. He couldn't walk, he couldn't sleep, he couldn't even be touched without screaming in pain. And no one mourned him out of love. He was buried with pageantry, yes, but not with affection. Even in death, he brought discomfort. His coffin leaked. Stray dogs lapped at what spilled. The man who commanded empires couldn't even command his own corpse. And so I return to you. What do you take away from all this? Is it the horror of his body? The grotesque way he died? Or is it something deeper? A sense of how fragile power really is? Of how quickly greatness curdles into monstrosity? What does Henry's fall say about the world we live in? About our leaders? About us? Would you speak truth to power if the cost was your life? Have you ever stayed silent when your voice was needed? Do we still live in a world that rewards obedience over honesty? These are not questions about the past. They are questions about now, about what kind of people we choose to be, when the weight of the crown crushes those beneath it. Thank you for walking this long and difficult journey with us. From the golden halls of the Tudor court to the dark silence of a king's lonely deathbed. You stayed, you listened, and hopefully, you felt something. Thank you for walking this long and difficult journey with us. From the golden halls of the Tudor court to the dark silence of a king's lonely deathbed. You stayed, you listened, and hopefully, you felt something. What struck you the hardest? What do you believe Henry's legacy truly is? And most importantly, what lesson will you carry forward? And most importantly, what lesson will you carry forward? Leave your thoughts in the comments, because history doesn't just speak through textbooks. It speaks through us. And if you want more forgotten stories from the shadows of time, subscribe and stay close. There's still so much more to uncover. This was History Exposed. Until next time, remember, power fades, but truth always remains.